Welcome to the Engineering and Public Works Roadshow, brought to you by the American Council of Engineering Companies, the American Public Works Association, and the American Society of Civil Engineers. We're here this week in Winston-Salem at the Great Trail State Conference, celebrating the Great Trail State of North Carolina, talking to a lot of engineers and people really engaged in that area of public recreational infrastructure, of course, the trails, greenways, and outdoor infrastructure that really ties communities together. And it's part of transportation infrastructure, really, when you think about it. And we're really pleased to be kind of capping off this event with the Secretary of Transportation for North Carolina, Julie Hopkins. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you came into office in 2023, and you are an engineer yourself.
That's right.
Over 30 years at the department, and your wife's also a retired engineer.
That's right.
So
yeah.
You know better than ever anyone else, I mean, the importance of engineering to the state. Give you an opportunity to talk about North Carolina and kind of where you see things right now from your perspective on where things stand and investing in infrastructure and what you hope to see happen in the near future.
So we're blessed in North Carolina with what I call a lot of good problems. Mm-hmm. We're a growing state. We're a state that people want to live in. They want to raise their families. We're a state that people want to visit. Mm-hmm. And so with that, though, it brings infrastructure issues related to transportation. And we've also been blessed over the last few years with IIJA. Mm-hmm. We got an additional 20% funding, formula funding for the highway side, and about 30% on the transit side. Yeah. So that has been very helpful to us. Mm-hmm. Almost 3 years ago now, our General Assembly also decided to put a portion of the sales tax toward transportation infrastructure in North Carolina.
That's fantastic.
And so we're reaping the benefits of that now. Mm-hmm. But with that said, and with the inflation that we've all seen over the last few years, we're still not keeping up with the need. Yeah,
it's eroding that purchasing power that came out from IIJA. From your perspective, has the federal money been coming out fast enough? How have you seen the implementation at the ground level of the bipartisan infrastructure?
So the formula of federal money has been awesome. Mm-hmm. We have not had any issues, which, we before IIJA was getting just over $1 billion a year of formula money in North Carolina. Yeah. And now that's about $1.5 billion. And that's coming out great. We don't have any issues. We have been very successful in North Carolina going after and being awarded discretionary grants. Mm-hmm. And that's somewhat of a struggle. Yeah. And I would like to see some improvements on that end, if possible, to kind of streamline that. With us spending $1.5 billion of federal transportation dollars every year, we know how to do it.
Exactly.
So there's a lot more hoops to jump through with these discretionary grants. And I understand some of them, because we need to make sure the money's going to the project that the grant, and you're delivering the grant that you asked for. But it can be onerous and time consuming. Yeah,
and you're not alone. We hear that pretty much across the country from different state governments that the formula funding's been great, but the discretionary is just we need to get the money out the door faster and get it the projects faster. One of the things, you're right. I mean, North Carolina's a growing state. It's a state that has a lot of talent, especially academic and technology investments coming into the state. A lot more EVs on the road, of course. That erodes, the user fee. Talk a bit about how you see this mix coming. I mean, in the future, where you have more cars on the road that aren't paying into the gas tax. You have integrated mobility. How do you see the state of financing at the state level moving forward?
So we have in North Carolina, we have embraced EV technology. We have just awarded our first round of the sites for the EV charging infrastructure. Yeah. And so in the next few months, you'll start seeing some of those go in. We're have the RFP out on the street for our second round. And once we advertise that, once we're able to award it, we'll be fully gone out for round one. And then we'll be able to move into our round two community-based chargers. Yeah. That's all part of the $109 million that we're getting through IIJA for EVs. And so in addition to that, we've also got a number of battery companies, Toyota being the biggest, that are busy building You know, their new sites in North Carolina, they plan to go into full production next year with hybrid batteries. And so that's becoming a big, job opportunity for our citizens in North Carolina. And so with the sales tax I just mentioned, our General Assembly has really taken the first big step to modernize transportation funding to offset some of the loss we see with the EVs. They've also put additional registration cost on EVs to help offset some of what we're not pulling in at the gas pump. I mean, but that's just the first step.
Yes.
So as we continue to lose that purchasing power at the federal level with the gas tax, at the state level with the gas tax, we need to continue those efforts to figure out what's next.
Yeah. Actually, I was talking to a couple of the engineers who are engaged in projects, and they actually mentioned the Toyota plant and the investment, and they said, really one of the determining factors Toyota had was the fact that if somebody's moving in, and of course, one of the ways that companies determine exactly where they're going to invest is quality of life for employees.
That's right.
Post-COVID, that's become a bigger issue. And the fact that there are greater access to trails, recreational activities because of the investments made by this federal government, state, and the municipalities here to make North Carolina the great trail state. That really is a benefit to attract greater economic investment in North Carolina.
We've got a lot of positives when these large companies look to come to North Carolina. First and foremost, we're an outdoor state. There's billions of dollars spent in North Carolina on outdoor activity every year. We've got a great workforce. We've got a great public education system, both at the secondary level and also post-secondary level. Our community college system is rival to none, and they see all that and they want to come here. And then our transportation network, which includes the trails, is as good as you see anywhere in the country. And we're working hard to continue to improve that, to continue to help make those different systems, whether it be a trail, a sidewalk, a bus stop, make it interwoven with our other transportation, like our highways and our streets.
So, as an engineer yourself, how do you, and also seeing the fact that this was put on, by Iona Thomas, who's of course, an engineer herself, and what do you think about the industry in talking to members of Congress, state assemblies, state governments, really pushing the importance of infrastructure investment? What's your take on what the industry's doing? What should they be doing more? What would you encourage them to do to really help push the message along that investing in infrastructure does have a tangible benefit to society?
I think in a lot of ways we do, and the public does, and then our own elected leaders take our infrastructure for granted. We use it every day. Whether you're driving on it, you're riding a bus, you're walking on it, whether you're working from home and you get an Amazon delivery, it's being used every day by everybody that's connected in some form or fashion. But we don't think about it until it's broke. And so when it works, we just kind of forget about it. So I think us in our industry and our engineers, we've got to continue to bang that drum and show them how important it is. We've got to talk about the investment and the return on the investment that we get from that. What they're doing in this conference with the trails.
Absolutely.
There's a great return on investment with those local trails.
Yeah, and it's great to see all the stakeholders come together in one spot and actually be able to talk about that from beginning to end. We did the bridge tour with HDR, a couple of the bridges they worked in with Sam, and it was great hearing the questions because you had questions coming from different stakeholders in the process, and having that conversation is really important.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and it's so important for us to involve the whole community. For many, many years, we didn't do that. Our industry as a whole, you go back 20, 30, 40 years, we were splitting up communities. We were dividing them. We were buying the cheapest land to build the projects where we displaced families. And we don't do that anymore.
Now it's connecting everybody together.
It's reconnecting and it's connecting, and it's taking their viewpoint in consideration. And we got to continue to work hard to reach those people and make them know that we want to hear their voice.
Absolutely.
And we want to work our projects around what their needs are.
Looking ahead, I guess, what do you hope comes out of Washington out after IIJA expires? It's hard to believe we're looking forward to what comes next. What would you hope the Congress does to help the states continue on the investments that they've been making?
So we're more than halfway through IIJA, and a couple things I would like to see. First and foremost, I would like to see us fully fund transportation. You know, there's always a fear with a big portion of that now coming out of the general fund that we're not going to get that next time.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if it was set aside for transportation and we knew it was, and we would kind of plan for that.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing.
Absolutely.
The other thing, IIJA's been great. You know, it's the largest transportation infrastructure bill we've ever seen in this country. We've done a lot of good things with it. We'll continue to do a lot of good things. I think the balance of formula funding and discretionary funding is off.
Yeah.
I would like to see more of that money on the formula side. I think discretionary funding, discretionary projects are important, and I think we need to keep those programs.
Yeah.
But if we do, I would like to see more of that money go to formula, and the money that's left, I would like us to streamline that process. You know, it cost us anywhere from say $60,000 to $150,000 to put together a package. You know, to ask for funding for a grant. And if you do a lot of that, that adds up pretty quick.
Yes,
and
it
again,
does.
we've been successful. In North Carolina, we've gotten almost $1.7 billion in discretionary grants through IIJA.
Yeah.
You know, which is huge. That's money that we would never see if we didn't spend that few $100,000 on those applications.
But it can be streamlined and made it easier for states to access those dollars. Let's wrap it up with workforce, because this is something which is an issue that we're dealing with nationwide, both on the consultant side, the fact of trying to find qualified work and experienced engineers, and then of course on the DOT side. You know, where's North Carolina right now in that challenge of trying to retain talent and then also attract talent into the industry?
So we've got two issues going on in North Carolina. First, we've got an aging workforce, especially in the construction industry and engineering industry. But we've also got the issues with people looking at other industries.
Yeah.
We're not the sexy engineer. Yeah, I went to NC State. I'm on the advisory board at the civil program at NC State, and we have a ton of engineering students. It's one of the best engineering schools in the country, but they're picking other engineering fields.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out how to keep them in civil, or get them in civil and pull them in. We are able to pull in some other. I mean, we have chemical engineers working at North Carolina. Our chief operating officer is a chemical engineer by education. You know, and so we bring in industrial engineers. We bring in others out of the engineering field into that, and I think that's one thing we have to do. We're reaching further down into the talent pool. We're going to middle schools now, and
that's what
telling
we're hearing.
them know about what we do. There's one in my home county where we reach 6,000 8th graders every year. And we show them what we can do at DOT, and we bring out all the bells and whistles. We're doing a lot more apprenticeship programs now, even at the high school level. We bring in interns, and try to show them. We may not bring them into our industry, but maybe they talk to an uncle about what they saw and learned, or a cousin or somebody, and then they come into our industry.
That's what we're trying to do at the Roadshow too. It's trying to communicate that benefit, right? There's a lot of people, especially talk about the generation now coming in, is they want something more than a job. They want to be able to give back, and it's few professions are actually tailor-made to improve society as engineering. So it's a great opportunity to come in, and it's grabbing people, bring them into civil, bring them into to our industry. So appreciate everything you're doing at the state level to make that happen, and we'll keep on banging the drum at the federal level.
Well, I appreciate what y'all are doing.
Well, I do, and thank you for spending some time with us today. It's a great conference. I think for a first-time conference on trails, it's been a real success. So thank you very much, Secretary. I do appreciate the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And again, this has been the Engineering and Public Works Roadshow, coming to you from Winston Salem, North Carolina, at the Great Trails State Conference. We'll see you next time.